and welcome to Dream It, Dare It, Do It, Live the Life You Want. My name is Jasmine. I don't know if you know me. I'm the girl who's been doing these episodes for the past 5 seasons. And today, I have this new disclaimer starting my episodes. And I'm saying this, if you're looking for information, you can click next, because that's not what you're going to get here. Because we're not going to give you any information. This is all about, our spirit. And today I have a special guest. Her name is Julie Gleeson. Hi, Julie.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm doing great.
So for everyone who's listening, Julie is actually a 3 principles coach.
I am.
Amongst other things,
I call myself a wisdom coach.
She calls herself a wisdom coach. There you go. And she's also a dog lover. Mm. And are you a breeder?
Mm-hmm.
You're a breeder.
I've shown dogs since the 1980s.
There you go.
Yeah.
Just so you guys know also, Julie sleeps in a refrigerator. Like she's been just like, really, she looks fantastic. I'm just saying.
It's genetics. It's genetics. And it's also because I don't have much stress in my life.
Yeah.
Right?
I love it.
Yeah. I mean, you get wrinkles from being stressed, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
I don't have any wrinkles either.
See?
I agree. So, this is a fascinating conversation. I told you we were going to go with the flow, and I love that you said this.
Yeah.
Because so Julie, for those of you listening, Julie's also a client, and I help her with her blogs.
Thank God.
Her blogs and her newsletters and her social media and stuff like that. And she writes often about no stress. And so I'm intrigued. Were you ever stressed? Is it?
Oh yeah. I spent the first 40 years of my life being sort of a fearful, insecure, and anxious. And I would plaster over my sunny nature, because I do have a sunny nature. I was sort of born with a sunny nature, but there was like this undercurrent of worry, concern, stress, insecurity all the time. And I remember where I was standing in my house when it suddenly occurred to me, like a bolt out of nowhere, in the middle of one of the darkest days I've ever had, that life was designed to be enjoyed. And it wasn't an idea. It was a knowing. And something let go of me when that happened. And I have been interested in that point of view since then. And I'm considerably older than 40 at the moment.
Yeah. We're not going to tell your age, but really, guys, she's like she says, she's over 40.
Yeah, exactly.
And, I really love that. I mean, it's so funny because I just ended a call with a client, and, the conversation that we were having was just that. She was like, oh, but I'm worried about this, and I'm trying not to, but, and I'm like, do you think that, I feel like we think that we should worry about stuff.
So interesting. One of my mentors from years ago, who's passed away now, Robert Causin, used to talk to people about this very thing in a whole workshop about worry. And he would interview people about why they worry. And the reasons people worried that they reported were so innocent and lovely. It sort of took my breath away. They would say things like, well, if I don't worry, something bad might happen. If I don't worry, I might forget, and this is really important to me. If I don't worry, then I won't be able to do anything about it. It was all like a total misunderstanding, but it wasn't like people were just worrying because they didn't have anything better to do with their lives.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. We have this. It's just, we don't understand that we don't have to.
Exactly.
I'm the same. I mean, I was anxious. Like I would I'd go to bed at night, and then it would be like the mind would be like swirling and swirling and swirling. And I'd be thinking of different possibilities. Okay, well, if this happens, here's how I'm going to handle that. And if this happens, here's how I'm going to, but you know what? It would come back every night.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I heard this wonderful thing recently. I can't remember if it was from a client or a colleague, but here's how it went is they pointed out that once thought comes into form, from the formless comes into form, there's no possibility once it's in form for it to be creative anymore. It is what it is, and it's going to always be what it is. So if we're looking for fresh thinking, looking in what we already know is never going to, 100% of the time we're going to fail if we need fresh thinking and we're only looking at what we know. And worrying is sort of like going through the register of all the things we know to see if there's anything in there that we hadn't thought of that might fill the bill, right?
But we're actually doing the same thing over and over again.
We are, because there's no fresh thinking in there. And that's, again, innocently, people don't know that. But once you know that, like I can go like 2 loops of worry, and then I go, oh, wait, this is clearly something where I need fresh thinking about, because right now it's just like, not working.
Yeah. Yeah, I love doing that now. I was talking with a client the other day, and she was like, but I want to do this, but I can't do that because this happens. And she was like in a tizzy. I mean, she was all over the place. I said, okay. I said, stop thinking about it. Don't think about it anymore. Right. You've got 3 weeks. She had this event that she needed to take care of. I said, you've got 3 weeks until this actually happens. Stop thinking about it, right, and be open to what will plop into your mind.
Right. Right. It's like, let it happen.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That is like, I don't know when this happened to me. I don't know how I got there, how I got to this point. I mean, I've got, I have a girlfriend right now that is like, she's starting to see the thinking, right?
Yes.
And I remember that there was this time period when I got to learn about mind thought consciousness where I would see all the thinking. It would drive me crazy.
Yes.
It would literally drive me crazy. And I was just like, I didn't know that it was going to pass.
Yeah, we don't know the nature of thought. And we think it's personal to us. We think it's ours, right? Our thinking. And we think it just takes root and we can't do anything about that. And again, that's an illusion. It's not true, but no one has taught us differently than that.
Yeah.
When you are willing to try that on for size and experiment with it, oftentimes you'll have a better experience in life, and things will go in a fresh way, in a wiser way. We'll have less cortisol coursing through our veins, right?
Yeah.
And again, it's natural. This is an innate understanding. And so all of us, if someone was taking notes on our life, all of us have had insights about how our thinking isn't really true.
Yeah.
But we don't remember that because we're constantly persuaded that it is. That's kind of how marketing works, is if you just believe this, you'll be fine. If you just buy this, you'll be fine. If you just dial into this station, you'll be fine. No, it has nothing to do with anything. Our thinking is just a sort of random set of things that goes through our head. And, my favorite metaphor for this is the Chinese proverb that goes something like this. You can't control what birds fly over your head, but you can control the ones that nest in your hair. And I love to think about thought that way. Like, I don't really have to have that thought nest in my hair or invite it to dinner or even to tea. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what has transformed for me actually, because there was a lot of thoughts that were, I'm going to call them negative thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I wanted to get rid of thought because it was always negative,
Mm-hmm.
so I didn't want it. But what's starting to appear for me is how any thought shows up. And now I can create. I can generate something else from the thinking that I see. And it's not.
Yeah, thought's neutral.
Yeah.
Thought is neutral. And so that's the thing you're beginning to see, right?
Yeah.
Is that it's neutral. It really doesn't mean anything that we thought that, right? I remember being up in my Moraga office today, and I remember my husband was driving something up from the house that I'd forgotten that I needed for the day. And we had an exchange that was not pleasant. And I remember as I walked away from the door thinking, this is why I don't own guns. Right? And it shocked me because
Of course.
I would never harm my husband. But in that moment, that thought was very believable. Now, because I do what I do, I could laugh at myself and let it go and know that it meant nothing about me. But in my younger years, if I'd have had that thought, oh my gosh, I would have scared myself, right? It wouldn't have just been a moment of whatever, weirdness, right?
Yeah. I remember the tangled web that I would weave, where, I would create a thought that would scare me, and then I would create a thought that would soothe it, and then I would create another one that would come and smash it all up.
Yeah.
And then I would just, like, no wonder I don't remember college. It's like I was in my head. Like there was no presence to me at all.
Yeah. I think that's how most college experiences go, by the way. That's sort of what college is about. Darn it. And you know what people do instead of understand their thinking? They drink.
There you go.
Right? I mean, it's sad. It's funny, but it's sad, right?
You know what I feel like asking you? I feel like asking you about memory. So here's my experience, that things that are happening to me. I'm just going to blurt it all out. So my mother had dementia. And one of my pre this understanding, one of my biggest fear was, oh my God, Alzheimer's. I can't believe, I hope my mother will never get that. And, dementia is basically symptoms of Alzheimer's, right? So, and when my mother was officially, we were officially told she's got dementia, I didn't have any thinking about it. I was just with her. And actually what I saw was the dissemination of all of her thinking about herself.
Yeah.
Because she couldn't
remember it, right?
Right. But she was still there. I could see the sweet, beautiful woman that she was,
right.
And as time has gone by, I don't have memory. I don't memorize things. Like, I have friend, do you remember when we went to this place on this day and we did this and you said that? And I'm like, no, don't remember that at all.
Not so much. That's right.
Yeah. And for me, it's kind of like I'm working my day-to-day life. I'm working in presence and less in my memory.
Yes. Let me tell you an interesting story about that. So before I understood the principles, I did what I call outside-in coaching, and I was really good at it. The problem is it just didn't make any difference to my clients. They thought it did, but it really didn't. That's a whole other story. But one of the people that I worked for was a member of Mensa at, 28 or 30 or something. He was like off the charts smart intellectually. And he had a photographic memory. And while I knew him in his 40s, and while I knew him, he contracted some kind of illness in an overseas trip, which he never fully recovered from. But one of the side effects was that he lost his memory, his short-term memory. And so he couldn't recall the way he used to recall. And so terrified him. Like, to have that big a change in your memory suddenly was terrifying. A year later, here's what he said. He said, it was the best thing that ever happened to me, because what I had to do was relax and realize that life would give me what I needed to remember when I needed to remember it. And he's lived that way for the rest of his life. He's still alive. He's still doing great. And that's how he lives. He's a much more relaxed guy. He's just not, I don't know. That sweetness that's in all human beings was much more available with him.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I hear you pointing at.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. I had a conversation, I've been having these thoughts, obviously, and I've talked about this before with other people. But yeah, it's kind of, because I go into my head and I'm like, oh my God, I don't remember things. And then I'm like,
You remember what you need to remember.
Yes, I do.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I think that if we understand that life force energy is going to come through us, whether the physical part of our memory works or not, then we could begin to understand that the intellect doesn't necessarily run life, that there's something else occurring that we can rely on much more frequently and with much more certainty, that is going to keep showing us the way, whatever the way is, right? The way for us. It's like it's on our side, and it's kind of like benevolent and pointing somewhere. And we don't have to remember anything to follow that, because it's a feeling. It's not a memory-based thing.
Yeah, it's just listen to the feeling.
Listen to the feeling. That's exactly right.
Yeah, it's so funny. So I'm working on my website. I told you this, and I decided I was going to get a new logo. I just decided, it's like, okay, new logo time. So it wasn't my colors were red, and now my total change. Like on the other side, now I'm like teal, very light, very beautiful light color, and I'm talking to this one guy, and he's doing a logo, and I'm like telling him, do this, do that, do this, do that. And he gives it back to me, and I'm like, yeah, you did what I told you. It's not. And
it's just not right. Exactly.
I'm just like, that's not good. So now I have this thought, like really, literally, intuitive logo maker. Wonder if that works. So I go intuitive on logo maker. Okay, I got intuitive logo people. So I logged on and I found this girl, and I said, now the story is much longer, but I got to this girl and I said, here's my logo. And, if you're intuitive, I want it in teal. This is basically what I told her. She came back and she gave me 3 options. And I was just like, wow. Like I was really like, yeah. And I had the one option that I liked. And I'm so funny because I asked people, what do you think? And everybody liked the other options. And I'm like, no, it's this one. This is the one I want. And then I go into my head, you're so stubborn. You're so this, you're so that. Has nothing to do with all of that.
It doesn't.
That's the one I liked.
Well, it's the one that you're supposed to have, or you wouldn't feel that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the second guessing of ourselves began way back when we were kids, when we were trying to figure out how to be a grown-up. And so we were kind of copying what grown-ups do. Such a bad choice, I'm telling you. Right? Yeah. The creative kids that were hard for their parents, but kind of went off and did their own thing, are probably happier human beings because they are staying with life force energy, bringing in new things for them, and they're thrilled by that, right? But I love that. I love that approach. It's sort of how I found you. Right?
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, and this past couple of years, what I've settled into is, this is what I'm doing. And I talk to clients and I go, this is what I'm doing. Why? Because this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Because before I would, like, you know, like I told you, now my client roster is full, right? I can't take anybody else.
Right.
But before this, when I talk to somebody, it would be, if I was asked the why question, I couldn't explain it. Yeah. And I would, because I couldn't explain it, I wouldn't talk to people.
And you're insecure, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is why I joined my networking group, BNI, 18 years ago, was because I couldn't talk about what I do. I knew, and I know that what I do helps people, but I didn't know how to talk about it in a way where people could get any kind of a sense of what it is I do. Fast forward 18 years. Now I know it doesn't matter what I say. It matters what they feel when they're around me. That's what they hire me for, right? But yeah,
but it did help for us. Like that's what I tell my clients. I just go out and talk, because you'll get, because what happens is you get confronted with all that thinking, right?
Yes, so, yes, it cleans you up.
Yeah,
totally cleans you up.
Go.
Yes, exactly. So now instead of writing 2,000 words every time I sit down to write anything, I can do it in 300 to 500 words, right? Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter if it's about my terriers, about a cat, or about the 3 principles. That people love reading those things, and that's really what I want, right?
And they do. You've got a beautiful email list. Everybody, if you need to sign up, theartoflivinginc.com. Go sign up.
I have to tell you something wonderful. I keep meaning to tell you this. I have had people that I've not been in touch with for 20 years that were still in my contact list because I don't clean out anything. Yeah. Right. And they still have their old email address that they get emails at. And they are pinging me now and telling me how wonderful those newsletters are and how much they're looking forward to them. And I haven't seen them in 20 years. They're all over the country, and they're all over. There's some in Canada. They're all over the country. It's the most amazing, like, community that's kind of come back together again, right?
Yes, it's really cool that we can reach out and that we are all in control. Like, if somebody doesn't want to have your emails, they're just gonna hit unsubscribe.
That's right. It's just not a big, and it's not, I don't take it personally, right?
Yeah. Well, that takes a little while too. That needs to be cleaned up too. The first time somebody unsubscribes, you're like, wait, what? Like, I was talking to a client, my friend unsubscribed. Yeah, well, obviously she doesn't want to receive your newsletter. And she's like, but she's my friend. Well, that's just what you're thinking, that because she's your friend, she should read your newsletter. You know?
Right. Yes.
Has nothing to do with it.
Yes.
No, I like this concept of it cleans you up. Yeah, I think that the more that we talk to people, the more that that's why I call it dream it, dare it, do it, right?
Yeah.
So I love that when people dream, like when I wish I could do that. You know, I love it when people do that. And I'm like, okay, now go out there.
Right.
You know, dare, and then just do.
Yeah.
Right. It's kind of like, it's your life.
Yeah. There's so much scarcity in our thinking that the dreams get kind of choked off before they can even sprout. Right. They're in there germinating and they start to sprout and their heads get cut off by scarcity. It's really sad. Right. Yeah. It's like a little plant that's trying to make its way out into the world. The thing I hear the most often, I do some career work with the 3 principles as well. And the thing I hear the most often, in fact, the woman I'm seeing tomorrow said that she's a real estate agent. Her income has plummeted because of what's happening in the market right now. And she kind of knows what she wants to do, but she can't possibly do that because she can't make enough money. So that's where we're starting in the conversation. So I said to her, I'm not going to talk to you about what you're going to do until I talk to you about your thinking, because your thinking is the problem. And she said, I really know that. She said, and I have no idea what to do about that. And I said, good, you've got the right person, because I do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, no, this is such a great conversation. Like, so I'm gonna share another thing. So this weekend, I watched a lot of TV, the true crime stuff. I love to watch true crime. I don't know why. Just all of a sudden, it's like you could run true crime in the back, and I'm like listening to it, and I can do all other things. It's very weird. Anyways, all this to say, I'm listening to this episode, and in this episode, it's a documentary, and in this documentary, this there's this person that comes on, and she talks about the law of attraction.
Oh yeah,
and she says that she's a life coach, and that she tells her clients how to work with their thoughts and their emotions. And I'm like, and then they wind up in a circle, they're holding hands and they're chanting an affirmation.
Oh Lord, it makes my stomach hurt.
Me too.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh my God. But you know what? I've been there. I did it. You know, I had the that board, whatever they call it. There's a
vision board.
The vision board.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I used to bring friends over and we'd do vision boards,
Yeah.
But I never did it like that. And, like I didn't go to that extreme. I don't know. It doesn't feel right anymore.
Yeah. And we should say why that doesn't work.
Yes.
Right? So why that doesn't work is because it's the intellect rather than, a dream is best placed in a creative place, and the intellect is not that. The intellect can operate and manage practically anything, and that's what it's designed for, but it can't make your dreams come true. It just can't. So where does all that where does the dream come from? It comes from nothing. It comes from invisible, formless energy. But that invisible, formless energy is the powerhouse of life, which is what infuses the trees with life, the grass with life, and us with life. It's what makes our heart beat. Thank God I don't have to make my heart beat, right? Along with my pancreas doing whatever the heck a pancreas does. I don't have to do all that. Life force energy is orchestrating all that behind the scenes. So why would I think it couldn't orchestrate having my dreams come true?
Yeah.
That's the thing. When we grab hold of thought that's already in form, it solidifies it. And that's the deadliest thing you can do with thought, because thought is designed to be able to move.
Yeah. It's malleable.
Move through. That's right. And the other thing is, and this always makes me giggle, which is why I paused. What if life wants one thing from us and the other thing is on our vision board? Well, now we're stuck, because life is going to be giving us everything we need for the thing it wants of us. And we're like, no. My vision board says I want that. And that's where paralysis comes from. If we just let go and take a great big breath and see where life wants us to go next, it's always more fun.
Yeah. Definitely. Well, I can see how that's also a misunderstanding. I mean, like it was literally a misunderstanding. Like, they listened to The Secret and they're like, think your thought, think your thought, think your thought, think your thought. Yeah, I don't know. Actually, if you re-listen to it, they're actually saying thought doesn't show up like this, right? Like it's kind of like it comes up and then in the future it appears.
Yeah, right? No, it's in the moment. It's in the moment. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right now, your thought right now is what's going on.
That's right. And that's what you're feeling is your thought right now. So if you want to experience being a millionaire, you can do that.
Yeah.
In this moment. I do that all the time. I live in a kind of a modest little house and it's lovely, but it's, it's not a mansion. I don't want a mansion. I'd have to clean the darn thing, right? And heat it and cool it. I'm not doing that. But I experience abundance and wealth in sort of almost every moment of my life.
Yeah, and it doesn't even, for me, it doesn't even look like a mansion anymore.
It's somebody else's idea of something, not wealth, not what I call wealth, not what I call abundance.
Yeah. I think sleeping well.
Oh my gosh. Talk about abundance, right?
Yeah. Loving fully.
Yeah. Yeah. And experiencing the love that's all around us. Do you know how many people love us and we don't let it in? Or we don't even notice, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of nice to know, though. People get annoyed with me because I always say to them, I was born a twin, I'm not sure I've ever told you that. I have a twin sister, a non-identical twin sister, and I learned fairly early on in life that I had two choices. One was to compete with my twin sister or to understand her and what makes us different. And so one of the things that makes me different is I can walk into a crowded room of people, and while I can be a little shy, I assume everybody loves me. It's my nature, right? That just drives some of my clients crazy because they're working so hard to be loved. And I ask them, has it ever occurred to you that they might already love you? But for your own thinking, you would feel that, right?
This is something that actually is starting to get created in my life.
Good. Because it's a really fun way to live.
Yeah, I was just like, I'm just like, I think that the past couple of years, and all of these clients coming to me just on referrals, there's no ad, nothing, it's just referrals. I'm just like amazed every time. And I'm like, wait, actually I can help. Like if I can disconnect my thinking exactly. And just when I'm just listening, I'm like, what do you want? What do you need? Okay, let's go.
Let's figure out how to do that. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. I just got clarity. And I think that that's what my clients love. They're like, okay, no, you can't. Oh, okay, good. Okay. Cause I don't know how.
Right. Exactly. But we'll figure it out together. Right. That's kind of, yeah. Those are the best kinds of people to have on our team, is ones that are listening deeply enough so that we can figure out what life wants. And if we can figure out what life wants, there's always a way. It's when we're working on what life doesn't want that we get stopped.
Yeah.
Spent a lot of my years doing that, just so you know. I'm actually sort of a master at that.
Hey, listen, so in 2020, I did my certification with Michael Neal, the super coach certification, right? And the reason why I was doing the super coach was like, because I'm going to be a coach. I'm going to be a one-on-one coach. I'm going to do life coaching. It's going to be transformative and all of this. No more business stuff. Not doing any of it. That's it. I'm done.
Yeah. Never mind that life wants you to do this stuff.
3 years later, I'm going, I think life wants me to do this, because now it's just, and there was just a total release. It's just like, no, I actually know how to do this. But where I'm standing is I'm standing in no, I don't get stuck with the thinking. And that was kind of like the barrier for me, because it was kind of like all the courses I was taking, you should do it like that. And I'd be like,
yeah.
Why?
Not my way. That's right.
And then they'd be do it like that, and I'd be like, "Oh man, that's just makes me throw up in my mouth a little bit. Exactly. I don't like it." Exactly. And then I started doing my stuff for me, and I was like, "That's working great. I can do that with that, and I can do that with that." And all of a sudden, it just like,
And now you have a thriving business, and life is raining down abundance.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how we know that we're doing what life wants.
Yeah.
This is why it's so hard for me to consider retirement. Yeah. It's because life hasn't set its time yet. And so people say, when are you going to retire? My twin sister's already retired. And I always look at them and say, when life wants me to retire, I'll retire. Right?
Yeah, I don't know when I'm going to retire either. I've got girlfriends already talking about retiring, and I'm like, wait, I'm supposed to retire? I'm supposed to think about that? I don't even think about that.
That's right. It's not our time yet. That's, again, when I live connected up to what life wants, I'm just so happy, because I know life is moving my body almost like a puppet. I have something to say about it. I can block the whole thing if I want, but it feels a lot better if I don't, right? And so I just let life do with me what it will, and it always turns out really well. It doesn't necessarily turn out the way I want it to turn out, but if I get my opinion out of the way, it's a grand life.
Yeah. Yeah, let's get our opinion out of the way, people, and just live life, man.
Yeah, because you know what replaces opinion? Appreciation. When you give up opinion, the space that's created with all of that criticism, what floods in is gratitude and appreciation. And that's kind of a cool thing. You know, I walk at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the morning in my area because that's a whole long reason, but I live in a quiet, safe neighborhood, so I can get away with this, right? And one of the things that I notice, even when it's dark, is I can see beauty even in the dark. You know, there's stars and the way the moon is and the way the clouds are when the sun's starting to come up. And I never used to notice all that. I'd walk right by it. In fact, I have a story about that. I took a car in for service one time, and it was 7 o'clock in the morning, and a teenage 17-year-old kid was driving me home from the place that I'd left the car. And this spectacular sunrise was happening. And I said to him, "Oh, what a terrific job. You get to see the sunrise all the time." And here's what he said to me, and I quote, "If you've seen one sunrise, you've seen them all."
And he's 17 and he's already that
cynical. That's right. Yeah. Jaded, whatever. Yeah. I was speechless. I said nothing for the entire ride home. I had no idea how to respond to that. I was sort of shocked, but I've never forgotten it, because to lose the eyes to see beauty with, I don't want to be in that life, right? I want awe and wonder. That's my life.
Yeah. Me too. Awe and wonder. I want love and I want fun.
Yeah, you definitely want fun. You're definitely. I have terriers for that reason. My terriers force me to have fun.
Yeah. Wow, Julie, this was so much fun. I told you,
wasn't it?
It went fast.
Yeah.
But before we leave, so maybe if you want to ask, like maybe clients or people listening would like to know how they can reach you?
Yes, the best thing to do, all of my information is on my website, which is theartoflivinginc.com. And you can always call. I do my first chat with you at no charge. So if you have questions about this conversation or anything that came up for you in this conversation, you can ask Jasmine, you can ask me. Be happy to schedule something. Just know that my schedule is a little chock full at the moment, so it might be a bit out, but we will get to it. Yeah. And you can also send me an email, and I'll answer an email.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Julie, thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for inviting me. This was very fun.
Yes, it was fun.
Yeah.
And to everybody else who's listening, I'm going to say thank you for listening, and I'm going to say, dream it, dare it, do it, live the life you want, and Absolutely. Have a good one. You take care. Bye-bye.